Set a new pace for your life. Get progressive. This is LA's Progressive Talk, AM 1150.
You're listening to KTLK, AM 1150, LA's Progressive Talk station. This is Mario Solis Merich. It's 12:36 in the afternoon. Karl Rove came to town on Tuesday. Did you know that? He came to town on Tuesday, spoke at the annual conference, national conference of the National Council of La Raza here in LA. And he spoke. Let me tell you, he went to that group, and you know, if there's anything first and foremost on Karl Rove's mind, it's politics. He is the political consultant supreme, right? And so he went there specifically to kind of blur the message, to tell the folks in the audience that Republicans were cool with immigrants. I mean, that was basically the way it was possible. We actually have a clip of what he said there. Why don't we play that?
You know, there's an important parallel between the distorted perception of Irish immigrants or German immigrants or Italian immigrants or Nordic immigrants or Chinese or Japanese immigrants in the 19th and 20th century and what we're seeing in the debate today over immigration. Unfortunately, the debate has clouded the views of some people in America and led them to fail to understand that Hispanics and all immigrants are real Americans. Okay, now that's Karl Rove. Now you would be thinking that sounds like a Ted Kennedy speech right there. See? So the message to you is, hey, first of all, if you're a Latino, the message to you is, hey, we are your amigos, you know? And if you're like an independent, it's like, well, there's really no big difference between the policies of the two parties. Now, check this out. He continues on. We've made it more difficult to get back and cross the border. So dad dies and they can't go home. And little sister gets married and they can't go home. And their little brother graduates from high school and they can't go home.
By the way, that applause there was not for Karl Rove. Some anti-war protesters, Operation Pink, had opened up a banner, a protest banner. That's what the people were actually applauding for.
So that people can come here to work and go home. It will benefit the North American economy by providing a way for Mexicans and Latin Americans to work in the U.S., to save enough to go home and to support their families.
Now that, once again, that was not Ted Kennedy, right? That was Karl Rove coming and speaking to the National Council of La Raza conference that was held here in LA. He spoke Tuesday there. Now his message to Latinos, not only at that conference, because that conference is, gets a lot of media in the ethnic press and in the Spanish language press. So it was a major PR move, right? And that move was there to tell the Latino communities, Latino voters, the voting bloc, that Republicans are all cool. But check out what happened later in the week. This was Republican Congressman King on the floor of Congress just 2 days after Rove made this quite stirring speech.
I also say we need to do a few other things on top of that wall, and one of them be to put a little bit of wire on top here to provide a disincentive for people to climb over the top, or put a ladder there. We could also electrify this wire with the kind of current that wouldn't kill somebody, but it would simply be a discouragement for them to be fooling around with it. We do that with livestock all the time.
Did you hear that? He's talking about, this is a Republican in an official capacity on the floor of the U.S. Congress talking about building a wall between the U.S. and Mexico, electrifying that wall, and then referring to immigrants as cattle. I want you to play that again. I want people to, because the sound is kind of screwy because we got it off a website, that is not great. So you have to listen very carefully. Go ahead and play it again.
I also say we need to do a few other things on top of that wall, and one of them be to put a little bit of wire on top here to provide a disincentive for people to climb over the top, or put a ladder there. We could also electrify this wire with the kind of current that wouldn't kill somebody, but it would simply be a discouragement for them to be fooling around with it. We do that with livestock all the time.
We do that with livestock all the time. Right? We give them a little cattle prod. Why don't we give all the Minutemen? Why don't we issue the Minutemen cattle prods?
We do that with livestock all the time.
It's basically what this guy is saying. So we're looking at a party that wants to have it both ways. And believe me, and this is, and we're gonna do this next week. We're trying to do it today, but Blogger's not working. But we're gonna do this next week. People say, Mario, you always think, negative about the Republicans, no matter what they do. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something. I'm going to take a major risk here. I'm going to take Karl Rove at his word. I'm going to take him at his word. Now, if he really believes what he said on Tuesday, and this was not a long time ago he said this. This was just a couple days ago. Right? So nobody could call me about, he said that a long time ago. If he believes what he said on Tuesday, then he needs to denounce what Congressman Steve King said on the floor of Congress on Thursday. And he needs to tell Steve King, because Karl Rove has the power and influence to do it, that he is not going to get any support from the Republican national committees, official or non-official. I know how this money game works, so you can't play any games with me on this. No support for his reelection until he apologizes for his statements that he made in an official capacity. Because Congressman King is a leader in that Republican Party that Karl Rove wants you to believe is so inviting. And if Karl Rove, and believe me, Karl Rove has the influence in that party to make this happen. And if he's serious about what he said, then he needs to get Congressman King to apologize. If not, he needs to denounce him and withdraw all financial support from the party for his reelection campaign. We could have differences on this debate of immigration, and we do. We could have differences. But when you start referring to people as cattle that need to be electrocuted, you have gone over the freaking line. And even Karl Rove should know that. So, Mr. Rove, I'm taking you, and you know what? Next week, we're going to start an online petition. We wanted to do it today, but things didn't work out on the site. But we're going to start an online petition. We're going to send a letter to Karl Rove, and we're going to ask him to stand by his words that he made on Tuesday at the National Council of La Raza. Those words that are freshly new in the minds of Latino voters all throughout this country. And stand behind his words with action and denounce these absolutely divisive and horrid comments of Congressman Steve King, that were just made just 2 days after Karl Rove made his speech. You know, one thing, and I've said, I don't know why today's a Bible day, because I'm not a Bible thumper, and trust me, I'm, far from it. Okay. But you know what? The one thing that my dad drummed into me, words without action are meaningless. Mr. Rove, we've heard the words. Now it's time for you to take the action. Can you do it? Come on, Karl Rove. Be a man. This is KTLK AM 1150, LA's progressive talk station.
Brainwashed by right-wing talk radio? Let's get it dirty. Progressive Talk AM 1150. Conventional talk leads to conventional thought.